Yes. So we are live. Thank you so much for joining each one of you. Hina
Hare Krishna
Mataji,
Prabhuji.
Dev, Vinod, Kaushik, and also Achyutanji. Thank you for joining. So, welcome to the
Hare
Bhagavad
Krishna.
Gita study circle, and we are now going to discuss something very important, that is starting a new chapter, chapter number 14. And we are slowly getting into the philosophical aspects, more deep philosophical aspects of the Bhagavad Gita. Very important subject matter that we are going to discuss. But before we begin, let us chant the pranam mantras like we always do. Let us join our palms and try to chant the pranam mantras. The pranam mantras will be displayed on the screen. Let's dedicate this session to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of ISKCON, and my beloved spiritual master. नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः. Hare Krishna. So welcome back all of you for the Bhagavad Gita study cycle. Lakshmi Mataji, thank you so much for joining. It's very interesting chapter, this chapter number 14, and that is called the three modes of material nature. Prabhupada titles this as the three modes of material nature. These are something very, very important for us to understand, because where there are some forces which are invisible forces which are actually acting upon us, and we should know about them because they are affecting us. Our daily life is affected by these three modes right now at this moment. Actually, these energies, these forces are actually influencing us so much. So we should know and become aware of these forces which are acting on us. Very, very, very important, right? So before we begin this chapter, we should know that how in the previous chapter Krishna had explained about the Prakriti, about the what is Jnana, Gneyam, all these different things have been explained. And now, in the previous chapter, we had understood in a broad way, Krishna had explained that how a living entity actually entangles itself, right? So, because of not knowing that he is a spirit soul, he gets entangled in the 24 elements. Chapter talks about the soul getting entangled in the material energy, but in this chapter, we see that how the material nature is so complex, it entangles us, how it influences us. This is how we are going to understand something very interesting. This chapter, we are going to understand the three modes of material nature. Very powerful these forces are, and it makes us it actually we have to contemplate, think about these things deeply so that we can become free from that. Many times Hina Mataji keeps asking this question. She has asked this before also, that what do you mean by transcendental? So that to be transcendental, we have to be above the three modes of nature. Transcendental means you have to transcend these three modes. So, what are these three modes? This is what we are going to discuss in this particular chapter. Because if you want to transcend, you should know about what is transcending, right? So, very, very important. So now basically, when we talk about these three modes, These three modes, to just give you an overview, that these three modes are actually three powerful forces, which are binding us. When a person is put into a jail, and inside a jail, he is put also some shackles, some chains are there on his hands and also on his legs. Why those chains are put to him? When he's also already inside the jail, there are bars, he's totally covered. He really cannot escape, but still, sometimes, they bind him with shackles, iron chains. Why? Because he should not even think of escaping the jail. He's already in the jail, he cannot escape, but shackles are put so that he should not even think of escaping. Similarly, we are now put into this material world, which is like a jail. And because we are in this jail, there are three modes which are like shackles, chains, which are binding even more deeply. Why? So that we don't even think of escaping this jail, this maze. And that's why we are not really thinking about it. Most people, there are so many living entities, but actually none of them are really thinking of getting out of this jail. Why? Because there are invisible shackles. Those invisible shackles are sattva guna, rajoguna, and tamoguna. See, these forces are not even, they are not making us think that we should escape, because we are so bound, very, very bound. It covers us completely. Just like, when people go into casinos, I know I have not gone, but just that people tell about that, when casinos are there, they completely cover the casinos from the outside world. You cannot really see anything outside. Why? Because when you get inside the casinos, you are supposed to be immersed in the activity that is happening inside the casino, so that you can spend more, you can lose more, and they make more profit, right? So that is the agenda. They cover you, they completely cover you, they isolate you from the outside world. Because if you see something outside, then you may get distracted. They don't want you to get distracted. So these three modes completely cover us, so much so that we are so absorbed in the life that we are leading right now. Oh, I am a man, I am a woman, I am a husband, I am a wife, I am this family, that family, and what not. We are so entangled that we don't want to see what is outside, or don't even want to think what is outside of this life. We are so engrossed in gambling. What are we gambling? Not money. We are gambling with our consciousness. We are gambling our consciousness, and we are being here, and we are losing our consciousness sometime. When you go to casino, sometimes there is gain, sometimes there is loss, right? More it is losing, and very less it is gaining. So, in our life also, as spirit souls, we gain sometimes, we go to Swargaloka. We lose, and then we come to this, hellish planet, sometimes lower species, what not. Most of the time we are in this lower species. Sometimes some Swargaloka we may have gone, but mostly we are loitering here. We are losing our consciousness, right? Sattva guna, rajoguna, and tamoguna, all are shackles. Some people are saying, Sattva guna, why is it shackle? Actually, Sattva guna is like a golden chain, and Rajas is like the silver chain, and Tamas is like the iron chain. Whether you are bound with a golden chain, iron chain, or a silver chain, you are still bound. You cannot be happy that, oh, now see, I have been bound with golden chain. People are like that. They are so happy because they are bound with golden chain. They don't realize that they are still bound. When people are in Sattva people with very good family, lot of money, no problem of food, roti, kapda, makan is taken care, absolutely no problem at all. They are like so happy in their life. Everything is so goody goody. Everything is so wonderful for them. They are in sattva guna. Why? Because they have acquired certain qualities because of their past karma. They are so good. And when you tell them that human life is meant for vairagya, they cannot give up. They are in sattva guna. They do puja, punuskara, patana, patana, all that they do. But They are bound. They don't want to give up this good life. When somebody passes away in their life, they're so attached, completely attached to the family member. They really cannot forget. Sattva guna is there, but sattva guna is binding them. Rajoguna, people are like, these people are like no time people. Anytime you ask them, they don't have time for anything good. They are so busy running behind money, behind so many materialistic things. They are so busy all the time, they really forget why they're running for. That is rajoguna. Rajoguna people are always under stress. They are always running behind results. They want result. Anytime they do any work, they look some profit into it. That is rajoguna. And tamoguna, people are lazy. They are mad people. They spend most of the time looking at the screens these days. Most people, they are so dull today because they are constantly watching the screens and they don't do anything that is productive. Constantly they are gazing at the screens and they really don't produce anything of their own. They only consume what is produced by others on the screens, right? So these are lazy people, tamoguna people. Now, many times, you see, some people who are little intelligent, they might actually escape the tamoguna. You can escape from the small gullies of a street, small gullies of a street, and then you can come to big broad ways which are quite busy, market areas which are broad, and you can move around. Broad roadways are like, you know the rajoguna. Small gullies are tamoguna. You really can't move so freely. You said, no, I don't want tamoguna, I'll go to the broad busy streets, quite big and nicely. That is rajoguna. Sattva people are like, they are on the runway. Runway. Now, when people are on sattva guna, they are on the runway. But what they do is they keep moving on the runway. But runway is not meant to be just moving on the runway. You should take off and then fly high. But most people don't fly high. What is spiritual life doing to us? Spiritual life it makes us to come to the sattva guna and just not remain on the sattva guna. This transcendental knowledge will make you take off from this material existence and go to the spiritual world. And that is the goal of this human life. Very, very important. Now, this is a overview of this whole chapter. Now, let us get into the details, verse by verse. Okay, so Hina Mataji, unmute yourself. Let's chant the verse number 1. So Krishna is further explaining about what is this world all about, his energies. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Param Bhuya Pravakshyami
Param Bhuya Pravakshyami
Param Bhuya Pravaksya Jnananam Jnanamuttam
Jnananam Jnanam Uttamam
Yajnatva Munayah Sarve
Yajnatva Mumayah Sarve
Param Siddhim Mito Gataha.
Param Siddhim Ito Gataha.
Let's chant it once again. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Bhuya Pravakshami
Param Bhuya Pravakshyami
Jnananam Jnanamuttamam
Jnananam Dhyanam Uttamam
Yajnatva Munayah Sarve
यज्ञात्वा मुनयः सर्वे
Param Siddhim Mito Gataha.
परां सिद्धिम् इतो गतः.
Please read the translation.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Again I shall declare to you this supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all the sages have attained the supreme perfection." Hare Krishna.
So what Krishna is saying here, now I shall declare to you the supreme wisdom. Supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge. Krishna is saying now, knowing about the self is also best. We don't even know ourselves. When Krishna is talking in the second chapter that you're not this body or the soul, that is the best knowledge. But Krishna is further giving us more details about all the different forces and energies that are actually working on us. Why? Because we should know these things so that we understand ourselves better. So that's why Krishna is again stressing upon this point that this is the supreme knowledge, which, knowing which all the sages have attained the supreme perfection. What is the supreme perfection? The supreme perfection is going back to home, back to God, realizing that we are the servants of God, eternal servants of God. That is supreme destination. And the Munayaha, all the different Munis, who although might be following different paths, but they all want to attain that supreme perfection. But that supreme perfection can be understood. The Brahman is one aspect of the supreme personality, absolute truth, right? So Brahman, Paramatma, and that is Bhagavan. So Brahman aspect, all the Muniya, they when they actually understand this knowledge, they come to the realization of Brahman. So now in the 13th chapter, in the previous verse, it was Prabhupada says that it was clearly explained that how by humbly developing knowledge, one may possibly be freed from material entanglement. Now, by acquiring knowledge, we have to de-entangle ourselves from the material bonds. And also, how that happens? Because we are slowly disassociating with the three modes of material nature. Now we are associating with the three modes, we are entangled. When you disassociate with the three modes, you will be disentangled. Now, Krishna is actually making us understand what are these three modes and how do they bind us. So, Krishna is saying it is important to know how these forces are binding us. So, then you can actually attain liberation. You can move forward. You can go upwards. So, this is very important. See, one is we acquire knowledge, right? And sometimes we become very proud of the knowledge that we have got. And that's why Sattva Guna means acquiring knowledge. But that Sattva Guna sometimes binds. Because sometimes people, while acquiring knowledge, they struggle, and when they acquire that, they become very proud of the knowledge that they have got. But just acquiring knowledge will not help us. Just acquiring all the Vedic knowledge will not help us to escape or attain liberation. Acquiring knowledge is like a crown. When you are wearing a crown on your head, the crown is actually having ornamental value. You can move around wearing a crown. See, I'm so knowledgeable, I'm so learned. You can display it to the people. But when it rains, the crown on the head will not protect you from the rain. So in our life, you may have a lot of knowledge, but that knowledge will not protect you because it's just like a crown. What you need for protection is umbrella. When it rains, you need an umbrella. And what is that umbrella? That umbrella is the mercy of the Lord. You may have knowledge, but when you have that mercy of the Lord, which is attained by devotional service, that is when we will be protected and we can get liberated. Otherwise, not possible. So we need to have both. Right? So Krishna is saying, I will speak more about this. Please understand, all of you, deeply that this is the supreme knowledge. Dave, you can unmute yourself. Let's chant the next verse. Verse number 2. So this is also a very, very important verse. Dave, you can unmute yourself.
Yes, Prabhu.
Idam jnanamupashritya
Idam jnanam upashritya
mama sadharamam agataha
mama sadharmyam agataha
sargepi nopajayante
sargepi nopajayante
pralayena vyatanti cha.
pralayena vyatanti cha.
Idam jnanamupashritya
Idam jnanam upashritya
mama sadharmyam agataha
मम साधर्म्यमागतः
सर्गेऽपि नोपजायन्ते
सर्गेऽपि नोपजायन्ते
प्रलयेत व्यतन्ति च.
प्रलये न व्यतन्ति च.
Wonderful. Please read the translation.
By becoming fixed in this knowledge, one can attain to the transcendental nature like my own. Thus established, one is not born at the time of creation or disturbed at the time of dissolution. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So, what is the advantage of having this wonderful knowledge which is so supreme? Why it is supreme? Because Krishna is saying here, you will attain exactly the form the way I have. See, transcendental knowledge means you become qualitatively one with the Lord. That means in quality, your spirit soul and Krishna is actually the supreme spirit. So both are spiritual in being. So what happens is when you acquire this knowledge, you get rid of all that is material and qualitatively you will become one with the supreme personality God. So you become free from what? Become free from birth, old age, disease, and death. The cycle of punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, you escape. Now, one Prabhupada says that becoming one with the Lord qualitatively does not mean that you lose your individuality. You are not going to lose your individuality. You will maintain your individuality, but qualitatively you are one. Quantitatively, we are different. We cannot be God at any point of time. But yes, qualitatively, we are like God. We are God like, but we cannot become God. So, in this material world, which is so contaminated because of the three modes of nature, we are not able to understand that God like nature that we have. So, we have to uh, become clean of these material world. And now, in this material world, when you give up, there are some people, yogis, jnanis, munis, because they acquire this knowledge, they attain a realization of Brahman. That means qualitatively one. Yes, I am Brahman. I am spirit soul. I am one with the Lord qualitatively. They realize this form. But when a bhakta, when he does seva, he knows that, oh, this is not the end that I'm qualitatively one, and it's all, there is oneness in Brahman, but there is beyond Brahman, there is something that is the aspect of Paramatma and Bhagwan. There is variegatedness. Just like here, I have so many things in this material world. I see the plants, the trees, the animals, the relationships that we have. All these variegatedness that we see are material, but when you transcend these three modes, you actually transfer yourself to the spiritual world through seva, then there is spiritual variegatedness there. All that you see here is also there, but in a spiritual form. There are kalparuksha trees, there are surabhi cows. All that we see in this material world is also there in the spiritual world. It is not devoid of the variegatedness. All the varieties that, in fact, what varieties we can see in this material world. There are many, many more variety of things in the spiritual world than that we can see here. But to go there, we need to lead a life of devotion. That is what is important. Without actually having uh, this life of devotion, we cannot enter the spiritual world. You need to go to America, you need a visa. To any other country, you need a visa, right? So, to go to the spiritual world, you need a visa. You need to go to the consulate and then you get your passport stamped, your visa stamped, and then you can actually go. So, we need to go and surrender to the spiritual master. And then when the spiritual master, okay, gives us the visa, stamps and gives us, okay, he's now certified to go to the spiritual world, then Krishna accepts us. How it is certified? By our devotion. So Guru is very important in our life. To obtain that knowledge, that's why Krishna is saying, Prabhupada is also saying, one must develop spiritual qualities. Spiritual qualities is developed in the Sangha. When we are in the Sangha of devotees, then the spiritual qualities will automatically It will help us, not automatically. We need to always put our endeavor. In association of devotees also, we need to put our endeavor, but it becomes very, very feasible, very, very easy for us to develop these qualities when we are in the Sangha. Very, very important, right? But the important word that Krishna is using in this particular verse is he's talking about sarge. Sarge means creation, pralaya means destruction. So when there is pralaya and when there is creation, in between we exist. But Krishna is saying you will exist beyond this sarge and pralaya. So this knowledge will help us to go beyond, go beyond this sarga and visarga, and then also pralaya. And we had understood in one of the session I had discussed this, that how even in acquiring knowledge there are stages, right? There are different stages in acquiring knowledge. The very first stage of knowledge is pratyaksha pramana. Pratyaksha means that knowledge which we acquire through our senses. After pratyaksha is paroksha. There are certain things that we don't know and we don't understand through our own senses, but we understand it from the guru, someone else. That is called paroksha jnana. Then aparoksha jnana, that is direct knowledge. You get knowledge through your direct experiences, right? Aparoksha jnana, that comes to you directly. And adoksha jnana is revealed knowledge. The Paramatma within reveals certain knowledge. Adoksha jnana. Then aprakrata jnana, that is the spiritual knowledge. When we enter the spiritual world, there is aprakrata jnana. There is a revelation of wonderful existence that we have. So these are different stages of knowledge that we actually acquire, right? So now, third and the fourth verse is very important. Achyutanji, you can unmute yourself. Let's chant the third verse. Mama yonirmahad brahma
मम योनिर्महद् ब्रह्म
tasmin garbham dadamyaham
तस्मिन् गर्भं दधाम्यहम्
sambhavah sarvabhutana
सम्भवः सर्वभूतानां
tato bhavati bharata.
ततो भवति भारत
Once again, mama yonirmahad brahma
मम योनिर्महद् ब्रह्म
tasmin garbham dadamyaham
तस्मिन् गर्भं ददाम्यहम्
sambhavah sarvabhutana
सम्भवः सर्वभूतानां
tato bhavati bharata.
ततो भवति भारत.
Wonderful. Please read the translation.
The total material substance called Brahman is the source of birth, and it is the Brahman that I impregnate, making possible the births of all living beings, O son of Bharata. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Now you see what beautifully Krishna is saying here. He's saying that the complete material existence. Here in the previous verse, he spoke about sarge. Sarge means creation. Now he's saying that the Brahman, the Mahatattva, Brahma, Mahat Brahma here refers to Mahatattva. You will understand that in deep today. And is the source of birth, and it is that Brahman that I impregnate, making possible the birth of all living beings. O son of Bharata. Isn't this is what the scientists also are looking for? They're all looking for origin. They all want to know origin. We all have that inquisitiveness to know what is our origin, because we are very deeply connected to our origin. Because right now we are thinking that our parents are our origin, because we consider like that we are deeply connected to our parents, right? Because we think and we feel that they are our origin. But it really doesn't end there. We need to understand what is our origin, how this whole thing is created. Now, why we should know about this whole creation? Because when we understand the creation, we will understand how great the Lord is. We appreciate the greatness of the Lord. In the 10th chapter, Krishna explained about the different opulences, right? Among the fishes, I'm the shark. Among the planets, I'm the sun. Among the other species, among the wild animals, I'm the lion. he described many types of opulences, and he said, among the mountains of the Himalayas, among the birds, I'm the Garuda. All these different things that we have understood, right? He has created so many things, and he said, the best among all these things is me. So he creates. How does he create and why does he create is the subject matter that we should know. Why we should know? Because then we will understand how much great that Lord who is there, who is creating everything and who is creating us also. We will also understand not just the greatness of the Lord, but also how much upakara that he is doing on us. How much he is so benevolent on us because he is sustaining us. Through this whole creation, he is actually sustaining us. Why he is sustaining us? Because we have foolishly desired to enjoy separately from him. So Krishna creates this whole creation. Now we should know about this creation because ultimately it is meant for our enjoyment, stupid enjoyment, the materialistic enjoyment. Krishna has to create. See how much Krishna is merciful. You want to be with me in the spiritual world? I'll be there. But now you don't want to be. Chalo, theek, I'll create this material world for you. Now at least let me understand this material world a little bit. At least, when somebody creates something nice, you should appreciate. You see a nice spot, see a nice painting, and he's kept it there on the table in the room, and nobody appreciates, how bad that person will feel. A potter, if you don't appreciate that pot, beautiful pot that he has created, he gets demotivated, right? So now, when Krishna has created so wonderful, this whole creation, this universe, let us at least understand it a little bit and appreciate a little bit. If you're not able to appreciate Krishna, at least appreciate and try to know this creation. We should know how this creation takes place. Very important because ultimately we are all coming through this creation only. It's not that we are simply hanging somewhere in the space. We are a part of this creation, right? So we should know about this creation. So that is what we have to understand today. So if you have pen and paper, please open the pen and paper and then start making some notes because I think it will help you in the future because these are something that you should know. Of course, you can always go back and listen, but this is such a vast subject matter. Why this has to be discussed? Because we are going to discuss about the three modes of material nature, right? So before we actually understand the three modes of material nature, we should know how this world is created. The creation of this world is so important for all of us. So now if you really understand, let us understand that this creation, this whole material creation, there is primary creation and the secondary creation. What is the primary creation? It is called the Prakrita. And the secondary creation, that is Vaikrita. What is that Prakrita creation? That creation which is outside this Brahmanda. This is Anda, right? This Brahmanda is one of the universe. What happens before this Brahmanda is called the Prakrita creation. That is called the primary creation, which is created by the Lord Himself. Expansions and all these different expansions of the Lord, Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshay Vishnu. Garbhodakshay Vishnu is within the Brahmanda. So all these different expansions, of the Lord, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, all these primary quadruple, second quadruple expansions, all these are explained in detail. That is called the Prakrita creation, natural. Prakrita means natural creation. The secondary creation is inside the Brahmanda. And we are today going to discuss about the secondary creation, the Vaikrata creation. Inside Brahmanda, what happens? Because right now we are in the Brahmanda, right? So we have to understand about this. What is this Brahmanda? Right? How are we a part of this? Very important. So what happens is within this Brahmanda, many people think that Brahmanda means a pumpkin. A big pumpkin is called that is like Brahmanda. It's not like that. Brahmanda. Brahmanda means Brhat Anda, big Anda. Anda means egg. A big Anda, Brhat Anda is called Brahmanda. Another meaning is also because Brahma created or he populates this universe, this Anda, that's why it's called Brahmanda. So Brhat Anda means a big Anda. It is not, when we hear this word Anda, what we get is, the chicken Anda. that we see that egg of a chicken, we get that into our mind, that shape that we have seen. It's not that that andakara of it's not in the shape of a egg that is laid by a chicken. It is round, just like a egg of a snake. It is round in nature. So our Brahmanda is also circular. It's not like the chicken egg, but it's like a snake egg, you can say. So within this Brahmanda, there is the expansion of the Lord that is lying on the Garbhodaka ocean. That's called Garbhodakshayi Vishnu. There is a Vishnu, Garbhodakshayi Vishnu. He resides in the waters, and that water is nothing but his own sweat. He sweats so much, half of that anda is filled with his own sweat. Now you can imagine how powerful the Lord is. So he's lying on his own sweat like that. Because he's lying there on that, he's also called as Narayana. Nara is also, it also means, Nara means water. Neer we say, no? Nira is also water. So Narayana or Nirayana both refers to one who is lying on the water is called Narayana. So from that Narayana, there is a Niraja. Niraja means lotus. So lotus, what happens? It is produced from the water, right? So from the umbilical cord of that Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, there is from his navel, there is a Niraja, a lotus that is developed. And that what is the nature of the lotus? The lotus always comes outside the water and then it blooms, right? So this lotus, which was created at the navel of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, it also came out of that water, Garbhodaka water, and then it bloomed. And when that lotus bloomed, then what happened? Inside that lotus, there was a personality called Brahma. Now, Brahma, he's thinking, oh, how did I come into this existence? He's looking and trying to search who is my origin, and is not finding anybody in the front. He's looking at in the front, he's not able to see anything. So what he did is, Brahma, he looked sideways. What did he do? He turned right. And moment he turned right, he turned his eyes on the right side, immediately there was a one big face that came on the right side. Then he looked, searched, who is my origin? He didn't find anything. He turned again right, looking at the back. Again, one more head came up. Suddenly, one more head came up. He saw there is nobody there. He slightly turned again right, and one more head came up. So now Brahma had four heads. That's why he's called Chaturmukhi. He's called Chaturmukha Brahma because he had four heads. He looks up also and he got the fifth head. They say a fifth head was chopped off later on, that I'll discuss sometime later. Now, Brahma has four heads. Now he cannot see down because there is neck. But then he looks at the stem of the lotus. It's a big, big lotus stem. He thinks that, okay, I think it's better that I get inside the stem. So this Brahma, because he's not able to find where did he come from, who is his origin, he enters the stem. He starts getting down the stem, this lotus stem. Down he goes, down, down, down. And then suddenly he enters a new world. What is that new world? He enters the stomach of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. And then when he looks at that Garbhodakshaya Vishnu stomach, the new world, he becomes fearful. He becomes very, very scared. So when he becomes very fearful, then he says, Bhan, he creates a sound. Bhan from his mouth. So when he creates that sound, so Brahma, the first thing that he created is sound, Shabda. And when he created that word, Bhan, from his tongue, from his mouth came Saraswati Devi, the Devata of Vak, speech. Now, actually, there are controversies here that we can always discuss, but scriptures, of course, there is no contradiction. Now, some say that because she was originated from Brahma, she is the daughter of Brahma, but there are some followers in the Madhvacharya Madhva Sampradaya, they say she is not a daughter, but she is the wife of Brahma. Saraswati is the wife of Brahma. So when Lord created this lotus, inside this lotus, he created this Brahma along with his wife. But Brahma, how can when I'm born and then I come with my wife together? How can we come together? He was probably a little embarrassed, and that is why he kept her in the mouth. And later, when he created this sound bhand, he created his wife, this Saraswati Devi. Now, in this Devata, all the Devatas, there is some called as Anadi Dampatigalu. Anadi Dampati means they are eternally husband and wife. So we are not like in this body when we are there. In this lifetime, we have a certain person as a husband or a wife. Next life, we have somebody else as a husband and a wife. But in Devatas, it's not like that. In Devatas, no matter what birth they take, in what lifetime they come, life species they come, they actually have the same husband and wife. Together, they stay together. So that is how this Brahma, when he created this Saraswati came out, then that fear went, because when you're alone, there is fear. But when there is someone to talk, then that fear goes away. So then that fear was gone. So he had his wife, Saraswati now, and both Brahma and Saraswati now, they actually go again out of this stem and they come out on the lotus flower. They are now sitting and thinking. Now Brahma is thinking, what do I do? I am all outside and he's trying to think about the Lord, trying to search, but then he closes his eyes. When he closes his eyes, and meditates, that is when he sees the Lord within his heart. So, we cannot search the Lord externally. Many people try to search the Lord externally. What to speak of search? Even if you do research, you cannot see the Lord externally by through these eyes. We need to close our eyes and see the Lord first inside of us. When we look at the Lord within, then we will be able to see the Lord without. You should look at, that is what is meditation. Meditation means to see the Paramatma within the heart. When you see that Paramatma within the heart, then you will appreciate the deity form of the Lord even more. You will see, oh yes, there is Lord in the temple there. Many times, for us, we are not able to appreciate the deity form so much. Why? Because we have not still seen the Lord within our heart. But Brahma, he saw the Lord within his heart. That is how it is, should be. And it is practical also. Many times when you go into the temple, to the temples also, many people, most of us actually, when we go to the Lord, when we see the deity of the Lord, after seeing the deity of the Lord, most people, they close their eyes. It is very natural. We close our eyes. It is very natural because it is how Brahma started meditating. We close our eyes because we want to see that Lord who is there in the deity form also to be seen inside. We close our eyes. When people go to Tirupati, we have experienced that. People from far away that looking at the Srinivasa Govinda, they are pushed and pulled and all that is happening there. They look from far, they look at the deity. But when they actually come before the deity, they close their eyes. And they know they do this and they do pull their ears and all that thing they do. They close their eyes. Why do they close their eyes? Because that is come into our genes. Human genes. We have acquired that in our genes. It is natural to us. Sometimes you must have seen the dogs. When the dogs, before sleeping, they go round and round the place where they want to sleep and then they sleep in that. Nighttime, you see the dogs, they go round to, they take circles and then they sleep. The dogs do that. It is in their genes. Why? Because when dogs were not in the cities before, they were all in the forest. So before they sleep, they used to go round a little bit of grass and they arrange everything and then they sleep. So even dogs now in the cities, although they are not in the forest, they actually take circles. They do circles and then they sleep. Then they lie down. It's there in the genes. So similarly, when we go before the Lord, we close our eyes. Why? Because we want to. We are supposed to see the Lord within our heart also. That appreciation comes. But unfortunately, we are not able to see that Lord within our heart. Right? So now, when he saw the Lord within the heart, Brahma then was so excited. He was so amazed to see that form. He started glorifying the Lord. He wanted, because, oh, you're so wonderful. He glorified the Lord so much. After glorifying the Lord, Brahma slightly was upset. Upset for what? He became a little sad because now I'm glorifying, but what will I do now? I'm glorifying, but do I have some purpose? Because when you don't have any work to do, you become sad, right? You person means you need some work. So the Lord understands. Ah, Brahma, don't worry. I have a wonderful job for you because I have done all the primary creation. Secondary creation, the job is given to you. You do that creative work now. All that work is yours. Now Brahma is excited, but then Brahma thinks, how will I create? I have no knowledge, my Lord. I don't have any knowledge to create. You should only bless me. You give me that knowledge how to create. See, this is humility. Then the Lord says, yes, you do tapa, tapa, tapa. Krishna says. 3 times he heard, tapa, 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 do tapas. So, creation means not that simply you acquire knowledge and start creating something. You should do tapas. When we do tapas, then creation has meaning. So Brahma did a lot of tapas, and then we needed tapas. Then he was now ready. Because after tapas, when you acquire knowledge, that knowledge is very wonderful. That is holistic knowledge. Simply knowledge without tapas, it will only create utpata, only problems, it will create miseries. But Brahma is not meant for creating miseries in this world. He is supposed to create this world for a purpose, so that all of us living entities can fulfill our desires. Brahma had to do this engineering work. For that, he had to do a lot of tapas. So when he got this wonderful knowledge, now he wanted to create. Now, when he Brahma creates, he creates very wonderfully. So the first creator, the first Prajapati, creators are called Prajapatis. The first Prajapati is who? The Lord himself. Brahma, because he creates all the secondary creation, is called the Brahmapati. And Rudra is a secondary, I mean, tertiary creator. He is also called as Bhuta Preta Katpati. You know, Bhuta Preta, he created all the Bhuta Pretas. So he is called the Bhutapati also. So now we should know that how these different understanding or the different creations are coming into existence. So let us understand one by one little bit, because there is so much to actually know and understand about this. So the creation begins when there is the sum total of material energy. Let us understand this. Okay. See, when before in the primary creation, when Mahavishnu is there is the whole material substance called Pradhana. Pradhana is like unconscious thing. There is nothing there in that Pradhana. It's like uh, it's material sum total of all energy Pradhana. But when Kala, material time, it interacts with this Pradhana, it creates the Mahatattva. It creates the Mahatattva. Mahatattva is more conscious. And in that, the Lord impregnates. That is what is said in this verse also, that the Lord impregnates all the living entities. Where does he impregnates? In the Mahat Brahma, in the Mahat Tattva. He impregnates all the living entities. So Mahat Tattva is actually sum total of all material energy, but now it is conscious because it is impregnated. The sum total of only matter is Pradhana. When interacts with Kala time, then it becomes Mahat Tattva. And Mahat Tattva is then, Mahat Tattva is like the yoni, it is like the womb. So material nature, then Lord is a seed giving father. He actually impregnates this Mahatattva. So within this Mahatattva, there are three modes of material nature: Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Now, Sattva, I'm going to explain more about this in the next class, but let us discuss that later. Sattva, not Shuddha Sattva, is reserved for the liberated soul because they want to enjoy. For their happiness, Lord has reserved the Shuddha Sattva. Shuddha Rajas, that Shuddha Rajas creates this Mahat Tattva, and the Shuddha Tamas is what creates the false ego, the Ahankara Tattva. We have that Ahankara. The false ego is created from Tamas. Now, that false ego further has three divisions. It has that Vaikarika Ahankara, Tejas Ahankara, Tamas Ahankara. So, that Vaikarika Ahankara it creates the devatas. The Tejasa Ahankara creates the senses, the Pancha Indriyas, Jnanendriyas, Karmendriyas. And then there is Tamasa Ahankara that creates the five elements, the Panchabhutas. So there is this creation that happens like this. Step by step, there is creation that happens. But now let us understand a little bit more. I know it is little philosophical, but then you need to really understand this because it's part of creation. So now what happens is about the three gunas. In the fifth verse of this chapter, Krishna is going to start talking about the three gunas in detail. Right now, he is only talking about the creation. He is not really in detail talking about the three gunas. But we are just we are just discussing, mentioning about these three gunas now. In detail, we will understand a little later. But Brahma, when he creates in 9 stages, where there are 9 stages, and the last stages you can see on the screen, that's the human beings. Now, when Brahma created the human beings, he was very, very satisfied, and that is how when he stops further creation. So, what happens is this sattva guna. This sattva guna is locked up by the Lord. Later on, we'll discuss that. So, this Mahat Tattva is predominated by Brahma. Brahma controls it, Rajas. Is created by Rajas, Rajoguna, and that Rajoguna means it's a creative force. Rajoguna means action. So Brahma is the predominating deity of Rajoguna. Satvaguna is Vishnu, and Tamoguna is Rudra. So this false ego is having three categories, and then all the senses are created, the devatas are created. Let us understand by one. False ego, I have already told, Mahatattva, I have explained. Sense perception. Sense perception means tanmatras. Tanmatras means what? The sense of touch, the sense of smell, the sense of sight, the sense of taste. All these things are created, which are created, the sense objects are called tanmatras. So, now, one of the senses is tongue. The tongue, it has very unique, right? The tongue has two capabilities. Two capabilities. What? One is to speak. One is to taste. Two things are there. So tongue, although it is one, but it has two senses. You can say, in one sense, speech is taken care by Agni, and the taste, the predominating for taste is Varuna. So on the tongue, there are both Agni and Varuna. And if you see Agni and Varuna, both are opposite in nature. Water and fire both are opposite in nature, isn't it? When a person speaks more, that means what? Agni is there. He's speaking more and more. But when you speak more and more, you also need a glass of water. Right? Because then you drink water, then again you can speak better. So they're all there on the same tongue. They function so nicely, so beautifully. It's all very wonderful science. We will understand them little more later, but I'm just giving you an overview. So like that, there is the senses, and within the senses, then there are panchabhutas. I've already explained about the panchabhutas in the last session, uh, how there is ether, air. From ether, there comes air. Air, then there is fire. From fire, there comes water. From water comes earth. It is very, very mind boggling for scientists. When we say that fire has come from air, they cannot believe this because air has no form, but fire has form. How can fire which has form come from air which has no form? It is very, very difficult for them to understand. So that's why spiritual science is different from the material science. Even ether, in ether, when we call about space, the space also there is something called the sum total of all the space is called Avyakrita Akasha. Avyakrita Akasha means it is the sum total of all Akasha, eternal sky. It is always existing. This eternal sky cannot be destroyed. But there is something called as Bhuta Akasha. Within this eternal sky, there is something called as Bhuta Akasha. There is a spiritual sky, there is a material sky. Can we just imagine? In the spiritual world, there is a spiritual Akasha. That is Avyakrita Akasha. Then there is Bhuta Akasha. For this Akasha Tattva, Bhuta Akasha, there is a predominating deity. That is Ganapati. Ganapati is the predominating deity of the Akasha Tattva. He has a big belly, right? In the big belly, what is that? There is space. That's why it's called Vakratunda Mahakaya. Big form is there because he's the predominating deity of Akasha Tattva. So, like that, for mind, Rudra is a predominating deity. For years, there is moon, which is the predominating deity. For mind, also, there is Rudra as well as moon. Even Lakshmi Devi is a predominating deity of the mind. Then for skin, there is a prana. Prana is the son of Prana Deva, Prana Devata. So his son is called Prana. There are five sons he has: Prana, Udana, Apana, Vyana. So one of this is Prana, who is the predominating deity for the skin. Then there is nose, the Ashwi Kumaras, the Ashwini Kumaras, but in generally in Sanskrit, in Vedic terminology, they are not called as Ashwini Kumaras, they are called Ashwi Kumaras. So these Ashwini Kumaras are the predominating deities for the nose. So, like that, there are many, many things that we should know. There is unlimited knowledge, right? So, there's sense perception, knowledge of the working capacity of all these five senses, why these devatas are created, and how these devatas are taking care of the different aspects of this different creation that Brahma has created. After this whole creation, Krishna, not Krishna, Brahma also, he uh, creates ajnana, ignorance. Can you imagine? And not by mistake. Brahma is not creating ajnana by mistake. He creates this because ajnana is also as important as jnana for us. If there is no ajnana, why will we have this session? Because we are in ajnana, we are discussing Bhagavad Gita. Let us acquire knowledge. So ajnana is also a part of creation and not by mistake. There is a technicality here. Lord is also known as A. He is one of the name. In Bhagavad Gita, we have understood, right? Akarosmi. Is the this word syllable is representing, or it represents the Lord. God. Akshara. We said Akshara. That in alphabet A is nothing but Lord. Right? Omkara, Pranava Omkara. Omkara is also representation of the Lord. Right? So this this word, this name of the Lord, is very dear to Lord, because there is no one who can keep this kind of a name. There is no competition for this name. That's why Lord is very happy. You see Narayana, there will be some H Narayana, D Narayana, M Narayana, this Gopala, that Gopala, this Namodara, this Madhava. So many different types of people will be there who will take up this name of God, but nobody will take this word. That's why it's very dear to him. Omkara is also very dear to him. It's the name of the Lord. So, buddhi means knowledge. Abuddhi means there is no knowledge. Knowledge, sometimes actually Lord is also called as Abuddhikrataha. Abuddhikrataha means one of the name of the Lord is also Abuddhikrataha. That means ignorance is important. Because of this Abuddhikrataha, the name of the Lord, Brahma gets inspiration to create Ajnana. That's why Krishna is saying in the Bhagavad Gita that Matta Smritir Jnanam Apohanam Cha. Mattaha Smritir Jnana Apohanam. Apohanam means forgetfulness. Forgetfulness means ignorance. Is given by me. Remembrance given by me. Jnana given by me. See? Forgetfulness also given by me. So this is how there is knowledge of the working capacity, devatas, ignorance is created, then stavara, immovable trees. So there are trees, right? Jiva Shaktis. Then Brahma started creating Jiva Shaktis. All these different elements, tanmatras, panchabhutas, all these things are created. Mind, intelligence, false ego. Then now he started creating the Jiva Shaktis. In that Jiva Shaktis, he created the first thing that he created is the plant, stavara. Stavara means that which cannot move. That which remain in one place is called stavara. The trees you see, plants you see, they cannot move, but they are living entities. But they cannot move. They are called stavara. And in these stavaras, there are 6 types. The trees and plants, there are 6 types of trees and plants. One is called vanaspati. The first one is vanaspati. What is vanaspati? Vanaspati means there are tall trees, big trees of 2 types. One is vanaspati, the second is druma. So what is vanaspati? Vanaspati means those tall trees which gives flower and then they give fruits. flowers, and then they give fruits. From flower, there is a fruit. For example, mango. I'm just giving it's mango season, so I'm just mango. Mango tree gives flowers, and then it gives what? Fruits. Mango fruits, right? So they are called vanaspati. There is something called as druma. Now, druma, they actually give flowers, but flower is not a very prominent thing. It comes and immediately there is fruit. So flower really, in one sense, does not exist in this called druma, like jackfruit. Now, jackfruit, you there are big tall trees, but then they are called druma because there are no flowers. So vanaspati, flowers and fruits. They flowers means what? Pollen will be there. Pollen will it will have that from one tree to another tree. Pollens can carry and it can spread. But in this druma there is no pollen. There is no flowers like that. Then vanaspati druma. Then there is lata. Lata means that which takes support of something else. You see creepers. There are so many creepers that we see. Many people have creepers at home also. Money plant and all they put right at home. That is creeper. That is called lata. The fourth is oshadi. Oshadi means the scriptures say that oshadayaha bala prakrataha. So oshadaya means that which dries off after giving the fruits is called oshadi. That means after giving the fruit, it dies off. The plant is gone. It dies. You see banana plants. What? It's oshadi. Why? Because once the banana plant it gives bananas, you cannot actually again harvest anything out of it. That is called oshadi. You see the wheat, the rice, the paddy, all that we have, right? They are called oshadis because once they give you the fruit, again they cannot give you. You can just chop it off. Nobody will go and pour water there again. Oh, let me again get something. No. Once harvesting done is gone. You see scorpions, in one sense, that is also called oshadi. It comes into this category. The scorpions, they have lot of mm, uh, eggs within, and because they start growing within the belly of the scorpion, it breaks open. And then what happens when it breaks open? It gives birth to many other scorpions, but the mother dies off. So, oshadi. So that is the fourth, oshadi. Then there is virut. Virut means medium-sized trees that you can see tulsi plants and other some flowering plants will be there. Virut, they are called virut, medium-sized plants. Then there is called taksara. The sixth type of plants are trees are called taksara. Taksara means which are hollow in nature, bamboo. It's hollow in between. So bamboos they don't give fruits and flowers. Although they say that in once in 60 years they may give, but there's no guarantee that these taksaras will remain for 60 years. So they don't flower in that sense. So there is vanaspati, there is druma, there is lata, there is oshadi, there is virut, and then there is taksara. All this is given in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So there are stavaras, trees and plants, immovable, which are of six types. And of course, then there are that which moves. That is called the chara jivas. The chara means that which moves. In that there are 28 types. The tiger, lion, this, that, many other things. We human beings, everything they come into that chara. So the idea is that these six types of trees that we discussed, all these six types also represent a certain type of form of the Lord. There is a certain form of the Lord which is associated with each of these type of creation. So that's why not simply they are there. The trees, they are called. They also have feelings. That nowadays scientists are doing a lot of research on plants, and they see that actually even trees they actually have feelings. The response is so slow that we don't understand, but they're capturing the feelings of the plants. When you actually take uh, a knife, and then you go to the jackfruit, it is hanging, such a big jackfruit is there. You cut it off, it has feelings. It has feelings. Anything that you pluck, it has feelings. So trees have feelings. They don't express. They are not developed. Their bodies are not developed to express. Trees are also called as padapa. Padapa means that which drinks water from the feet. We drink water from what? From our mouth. Padapa means that drinks water from the feet. That is the roots. That's why they are called padapa. The trees are also called as vriksha. Vriksha means that which grows even after being cut. You see trees, you cut them, again they will grow, right? Leaves and all those things will start coming out. That's why it's called vriksha, that which grows even after cutting. We are not like that. You cut a finger, no matter what kind of manure you put, doesn't mean that you'll get one more finger. No, it's not going to come, right? So that is called vriksha. So the trees are always very beneficial. They always do paraupakara. That's why they are considered topmost. Very important. That's why they created first also. Plants and trees, if you see, they are always doing paraupakara to everyone. You see plants and trees, they are called urdhvastrotas, urdhvastrotas. And the animals, all these moving animals, the cows and tigers and lions and everywhere, they're called tiryakshotas. And human beings, they're called adashrotas, adashrotas. There is urdhvashrotas, there is tiryakshotas and adashrotas. That means what? Now human beings are very intelligently given definition to this. And what is that? Urdhva Shrotas means what? The definition is Urdhva Shrotas means the food when they take, the food movement is from down to upwards. That's why the plants are called Urdhva Shrotas, because the movement of the food is from bottom to top. And animals like cows and tigers and lions, they're called Tiryakshotas. Why? Because the movement of the food is in horizontally, sideways. That's why they're called Tiryakshotas. And human beings are called Adashrotas. Adashrotas means our food movement happens from top to bottom. So you put it in the mouth and the movement happens downward, the food movement. So there is Urdhva Shrotas, there is Tiryakshotas, there is Adashrotas. But then our acharyas give even better example. Why plants are called Udashrotas? Because they are always doing Paraupakara. Why they are doing Paraupakara? They give, how they are doing Paraupakara? They give shelter to the birds, because birds are going to give, their nests are formed there on the trees. Then you go and cut the trees for the wood, and that wood you build the house, you build the windows, you build the doors. You see Paraupakara even before, while it is living and after it is died. The trees are always doing Paropakara. So that's why they are called Urdhvashrotas. Urdhvashrotas they are called. Animals, they are called Tiryakshotas, because animals, they don't have anything such as karma, good karma, bad karma. They just follow their instincts and they do. Now, tiger, because it is eating a cow, doesn't mean that it will have some Gohatya Papa that it will get. No, it will not get Gohatya Papa, because it is designed like that. There is no accumulation of karma. So that's why it's called Tiryakshotas. Animals don't have any karma. But human beings, Urdhva Shrotas, other Shrotas, we are supposed to be Urdhva Shrotas, but we are always so degraded in our consciousness, human beings. We have actually given more responsibilities, but then what we do, we don't use this spiritual quotient. We don't use our SQ. And what happens is, we are always engaged in accumulating more and more for ourselves, more than what we require. That's why we are called adashrotas. We are always very greedy in our nature. So that is how it is, that we are created, and the human beings, although we are supposed to be very, very special, but then what happens is, we are very greedy personalities. We destroy all the other creations. We create a lot of disturbance within the other creations that we have around us, human beings. This is such a wonderful body actually for self realization, but we totally misutilize this. Even devatas, they actually want to be having, they want this kind of body. In one of the Upanishads, it is said, when Brahma, he wanted to create a home for the devatas. He created the cow. All these devatas came and they saw this cow. They were a little excited. They went around it and they said, "Ah, it is very nice." Actually, Brahma created horse first. They didn't like the horse. They say it is nice, but they went off. Brahma understood. Okay, they don't want to say it on my face, but I know that they don't like it. Then Brahma created the cow. They really liked it, very nice. But then they said, no, I think we will wait for some more time. We are okay. Then Brahma created the human form. Then Devatas, moment they saw that this beautiful form of human, they didn't even ask Brahma. They directly entered this human form. It was so nice. They didn't even do any Vastu Puja. Directly they entered this human form. They liked it so much. So even devatas like this human form so nicely. But then what happens is because of our consciousness, degraded consciousness, we misutilize. We don't understand this. So you see, this is the how the 9 stages of creation is taking place, and there are so many things to be discussed. But for today, you please contemplate on all that we have discussed today. You will get an idea of this whole creation. Further, Krishna, he will explain about Kala and many other things. But we have to move forward. We will only stick to the 3 modes of material nature for this particular chapter. And the 3 modes, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, we will understand deeply in the next session because there is so much to know about these. There is something so deeply that we should understand so that we can actually progress our life in spiritual way. Okay? So, any questions? I know it takes some time for you to digest all that is being told. Even I took some time to understand because it is so much to know actually.
Yes,
Yes,
Prabhuji.
isn't it? Okay, all right. So please think about it, discuss about these things with all of you, between yourself, and then I think you'll get a lot of insights about what we have discussed. And then it will be very clear. Okay, thank you, Achyutanji. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Inamataji. Vinodji, thank
Thank
you
you,
so much.
Prabhuji.
Thank
Prabhuji,
you,
it was
Jay.
a very nice session, very deep, but very interesting.
Yes, there is so much to know. In fact, the more Krishna is going to say about all these things, I think you know it is sometimes it gives goosebumps also. I mean, so wonderful the Lord is that He is protecting us, giving us so much facilities. We are in human form. There is no better time than this to actually get out of this maze. So very special we are. In one sense, we have come in contact with Prabhupada. We should take full advantage. I mean, anyway, this is a preparation for the Bhagavatam series that we are going to start after Bhagavad Gita. So these are all preliminary things that we are sharing now. So in Bhagavatam, we
Yes,
can actually
Prabhuji.
even understand in deep more about all these wonderful things that Krishna has told. So Bhagavatam is even more the next level, so that we will understand, right? So Lakshmi
Yes.
Mataji always commenting. Thank you so much. We will watch again. And you also said about close the eyes and tears flow down, ultimate experience. Yeah, sometimes it happens when you see the Lord, the deity, and you close the eyes, you have the tears in your eyes. They are the tears of joy actually because we see the Lord, He's so joyful. So we get that also. Yes, thank you so much for joining. We will meet again. Take care. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare, Hare Krishna.
Krishna. Vinodji, Hare Krishna.
Hare